Good evening, everyone. Today I will be talking about decoding BCA, body composition analysis in health and disease, a case-based approach. Before we move ahead, let's understand what is body composition. So if you see body composition, you see your entire body and then you can subdivide your body composition into various compartments. The well-known compartment in today's day is two compartmental model wherein people talk more about the fat mass and fat-free mass. But the revolution has come up right now wherein people talk about the fat mass, they talk about the protein, they talk that is your lean mass, they talk about your bone mass, and they talk about your total body water. That is nothing but your molecular or cellular format. It is also known as four compartmental model. If I simplify it, this is how it appears. Your body weight is nothing but your fat mass plus your fat mass. If you divide your fat-free mass, it will be body cell mass and intracellular water. And comes to fat mass, which is nothing but your essential fat and fat, which can be subdivided into subacute fat and visceral fat. And who are target audience for doing this test? First, the adult whom we see in day out, they can be a healthy individual, someone with some of the other metabolic disorder. Pediatric patient, critically ill patient, or someone who is amputated. So, doing the body composition for them also is equally important. And what are the diseases which we can manage with body composition analysis? Almost everything. Metabolic disorders, be it obesity, diabetes, hypertension, sarcopenia, nephropathy, cancer, certain kind of rehab injuries, and many more. We all know what is muscle and fat, but body composition analysis is much more beyond muscle and fat. There are certain things which is known as extracellular water ratio, phase angle, segmental lean analysis. I'll take you throughout this in detail. So extracellular water, when we see that, we get generalized edema. That generalized edema can be because of any kind of disorder which is present, which can be either a kidney ailment, heart ailment, liver ailment, or endocrine dysfunctioning. But most of the time, there is an edema at one specific limb. That can be because of certain kind of injury or deep vein thrombosis. Otherwise, it can be a senile edema or idiopathic edema. But to understand that is something which takes a toll, because while looking at the person, it becomes very difficult to differentiate what kind of edema it is, or whether the person is having any kind of muscular injury, or is it a DPT, or there is a muscle paralysis which has taken place for that individual. So this is the quickest way to analyze what kind of edema the individual is having. The ratio between the intracellular water and extracellular water is 3:2. As I said, your body is divided into four compartments, that is your total body water, protein, mineral, and fat mass. Your total body water is subdivided into extracellular water and intracellular water. That ratio is 3:2. However, if the ratio is changing, it can also lead to fluid retention, edema, or anasarca. If I look at this, this is a normal cell which we have with a proper ratio, that is 3:2. But there are two cases out here. If the extracellular water is increasing, that can be because of the chronic ailment or it can be because of post-surgery. However, if intracellular water is decreasing, that means the person is going into malnourishment. It can be because of aging or cachexia. But the cell size remain constant. If the intracellular water is decreasing, there is an edema because of muscle wasting. Here, the cell size is increasing because there is a water retention which is taking place. There is an increase in ECW. The ECW ratio is very important for us to understand what is the dry weight of the individual. As we all see that the person starts gaining weight. It can be because of the water, it can be because of muscle, it can be because of fat. But with certain kind of patients, we need it as a water weight, but how much it is. So here's a quick way to analyze what is the dry of the individual. If you know what is the normal intracellular water of the addition, we need to find out the normal extracellular water out here. And this is a 0.380 is the ratio which is derived from the number from 3:2, which I already said, that is intracellular water and extracellular water. The cross multiplication out here, we understand what is the normal ECW ratio, based on which we can get the dry weight and the overhydration status of the individual. So these are the values which were. But there was a certain hypothesis wherein it also said 0.80 is a normal ECW ratio, which is not necessarily be normalized or standardized for all kind of population. So there are certain individuals with diabetes or hypoalbuminemia. So we cannot give the same normal ECW ratio for everyone. Therefore, they have got different ranges of normal extracellular water ratio, which was 0.385 for normal individuals, 0.395 if the person is having either diabetes or hypoalbuminemia, and 0.405 for person who is having both the ailments in them. So this is how you obtain dry weight for the individuals, for the renal patient or cardiac patient, diabetes or hypoalbuminemia. So we have different ECW ratio for different conditions. And these are the ECW ratios which we can see out here. Then comes monitoring of the ECW ratio. However, this extracellular water ratio should not be monitored alone. It should be always monitored with the muscle mass, because if the muscle mass is increasing and extracellular water is decreasing, that means the person is coming out of fluid overload, wherein his muscle mass is increasing. If muscle is also increasing and extracellular water is also increasing, that means there is a fluid overload or water retention which is taking place, and the muscle quality is deteriorating. If the person who was into severe edema all of a sudden starts decreasing his muscles and his extracellular water ratio, which indicates there is a decrease in fluid retention and the muscle quality is improving. But if muscle is decreasing and extracellular water is increasing, it is a worse sign. It is a fluid overload. Such kind of cases are seen in the patient who are going into cachexia, wherein the cell size remains the same, but intracellular water is decreasing. Because of extracellular water ratio, we can reclassify our BMI chart, wherein we all know we can actually understand if the BMI is about 23 kg per meter square, we classify them as the obese. However, if we classify them based on their body fat, visceral fat, we can classify them in the form of skinny fat. We can classify them as a visceral fat obese. If we classify them with the help of water levels, their extracellular water levels is high. That means they are obese because of their water weight. There is a water retention which has been taking place. Some lower amount of extracellular water ratio but higher muscle mass can be called as muscular based upon their ECW ratio. So we can redefine and reclassify our BMI. Then we can actually assess the phase angle. We can do the nutritional assessment with phase angle. Phase angle nothing indicates cellular integrity. If your cell is healthy, it is intact. That means the immune system is quite on a higher side. Whereas if it is not intact, that means there is some kind of issues. It may be malnourishment, it may be because of aging. Therefore, the phase angle is decreased. So this is how the phase angle looks like if it is malnourished or if it is deteriorated or if it is harmed because of any kind of disorders. The normal phase angle should be above 4, 2 to 4 depending upon the aging process. If it is below 2, the prognosis is really poor of that particular individual. Phase angle is highly correlated with SGA scores. It is a useful tool to assess nutritional status. It becomes a potential marker which you get from BIA technique. With BCA, which we are talking today, it's all about bioelectrical impedance analysis technique. So it becomes the easiest marker to assess the person how well they are doing. Sarcopenia and segmental lean analysis. Segmental lean analysis plays a major role to assess sarcopenia. The skeletal muscle index is calculated with the help of segmental lean analysis, wherein you add your segment appendicular lean mass, that is your right arm, right leg in kgs and divided by height in centimeters square. For males, the normal value should be 7 kg per meter square, and for female, it should be 5.7 kg per meter square. If it is below that, that means the person is sarcopenic. So these days we are seeing lots of sarcopenic obesity coming up in the picture. It is seen in the adult population as well as pediatric population also, leading to lifestyle disorders. Insulin resistance and mental lean analysis also play a major role. The people who are having low amount of lean mass in their lower limbs, that is their right leg and left leg specifically, were seen to have hyperglycemia. It is seen in the elder population also and younger population also these days. That's because your thigh muscles is responsible and they are the two-thirds of your skeletal muscles which are responsible for metabolism. If there is a weakness in the legs, there is a muscle weakness, the physical activity deteriorates, which results in muscle loss, which increases insulin resistance, and so on the cycle goes. There are various studies which were published because of the same goals. There is a case one. So this individual was having dyslipidemias also. We did test first. As we can see here, his weight was on a 82.7, muscle mass was 32.4, and that was 30.4%. He did a religious follow-up for 2 months, wherein his sugar levels came down to normal. There was no dyslipidemias. However, he became non-compliant after reaching his goal. Though he tried doing on his own, there was a weight loss which was seen, but that weight loss was actually his muscle loss, not his fat loss, which reversed the condition. However, there was no effects on the visceral fat levels which was seen. Therefore, it's very essential to be complacent and to educate them. If you lose your weight, see to it you're losing the fat mass, not the muscle mass. Therefore, educating the patient about the fat loss. So for this particular patient, the person started losing his muscle mass wherein he actually focused only on weight loss. He tried doing this fat diets and everything. So once he returned back to us, we saw there was a severe deplete in his muscle mass. At the very same time, his glucose tolerance also decreased and his fasting sugars again were on fire. However, his visceral fat remained same. It never had any kind of fluctuations. Next slide, ma'am. So case number 2, this is a case of 23-year-old female. She had a sedentary lifestyle. She had PCOS since last 2 years. Menses were irregular and she has got prominent insulin resistance. Next slide. So we did her follow-up. She was having lack of muscles were there. Her body fat was really high. It was 40.8%. Her muscle mass was 22. Her weight was 74. However, kept on a low carb diet. There was adequate fiber which was given. There was exercises which was prescribed and good amount of protein was given. Her menses were regularized. There was no insulin resistance. She lost 4 kgs, gained muscle mass. She reduced 4% of body fat and visceral fat levels were reduced to 3. So she had a visceral fat levels of 15 which came down to 12. Again, she is still working up with her condition, but this became like a tool to educate her and her family. So why this kind of compliance is required, why exercise is essential, why taking that adequate amount of protein is necessary, why the follow-up is required to understand how your body is responding towards a diet or kind of supplements which are prescribed. So this became a tool for assessing as well as educating the patient. Next slide, ma'am. So case number 3, this patient is 30-year-old. It's a post-COVID recovery case. Next slide. So in this person, post-COVID, there was lots of malaise which was seen. If we can see muscle mass out here was 27. Slowly he was kept on proper good high protein diet, mild amount of physiotherapeutic exercises were given. Slowly he gained his muscle mass to 29.6. His face angle also improved over the period of time. Initially it was 6.6. Later it improved to 6.8. Face angle anything above 6 is excellent. However, there was lots of malaise. There was weaknesses in lower limbs. As we can see, his lower limbs it is into 7. Slowly it increased to 7.7 and 7.74, which also my previous slide, which also gave a rough idea how the patient is improving. His bone mineral content out here, initially he was osteopenic, then the vitamin D supplementation was given, and if we see over the period of time, he improved on his bone mineral content. His visceral fat levels also decreased. His percentage body fat from 25, it came down to 17%. So that it came down to 1 minute from 25.2. It also reduced over the period of time, which was quite important for this individuals, and he could see the healthier version of himself. So this actually played a role in terms to understand if the person is gaining the muscle mass, if the person is gaining the fat mass, or if there is a water retention. Initially there was slight water retention in his lower limbs, but over the period of time it also went off. Next slide, ma'am. So before doing such tests, there are certain precautionary guidelines which we need to follow. If the guidelines are not followed, we could see the variations in the result. That is the main reason why we don't see the accuracy when we do BIA technology, the BCA with BIA technology, because the protocols or the precautionary steps are not followed. So they are easy. All they need to do is keep their arms straight. The arms should be apart from the torso. If the arms are joining the torso, the surface area of that particular region is increased, leading to the overestimation of muscle mass of that particular region. The test should be done on bare feet. Certain people, they are like, I will not remove my socks or my stockings. We can just do their BIA test. But it is not possible because there are errors of up to 7% if the person is not standing bare feet. The basic principle is the skin is touching to the electrode directly, so the electric current could pass through the body. It should be done prior to physical exercise. If you are doing the test after physical exercise, then there is a muscle pumping which has been taking place during the physical exercise or during the workout, which will result in higher amount of muscle mass than normal. So there is an overestimation of muscle mass which is seen if the person is doing the test after physical exercise. It should be done on room temperature before taking a shower or before visiting to bathroom, because there is a vasodilation and constriction which takes place in the temperatures, extremities also. So therefore it is advised to do the test into normal room temperature before going to bathroom, or it should be done on empty stomach, because BIA won't, the current won't differentiate between the fecal matter or urine in the stomach. It will actually see it as a weight and a fat mass. Therefore the fat mass will be overestimated. During menses, it is advised not to do BCA because of the hormones. There are high fluctuations which take place, resulting in the fluctuated body composition analysis. Some day it will show higher amount of muscle mass, one day it will show higher amount of fat mass. So it's very essential to avoid these days. Results will vary if you input wrong height and weight, because the basic principle of BIA works on impedance index. So if that basic things are not added or input properly, then there are variations in the result. It is also said that once you wake up and you do the test immediately, the results won't be that accurate, because when you stand up or when you are into one posture for prolonged period, and then once you stand up, there is certain switch of the electrolytes and the water levels taking place inside your body. So if you don't give minimum 15 minutes in one particular posture, the results will vary in terms of percentage body fat. So this is how you can actually see the report, wherein you see visceral fat area, you see percentage body fat, wherein you can identify whether the person is obese because of body fat or muscle mass. Segmental lean analysis will be the indicator for sarcopenia. Extracellular water can tell you about the injury. It can also give you the dry weight. It will also help to understand whether the person is going into malnourishment or cachexia. Bone mineral content will tell about osteopenia. Skeletal muscle index again with the sarcopenia. Face angle will tell you about the nutritional status of the individual. And the body composition history will actually help you to track the progression or the muscle quality of the patient. Thank you.